Well, I'm sure you've heard, if you've been listening to this radio station today, Mike, every single player that's come on has come on and said something hilarious. Let's start with Jahlani Tavai. Seems like frustration bubbling over in that locker room. It also seems like everything's just melting down. We all knew that this was going to be bad. Did you think it would be this bad?
Well, this is what happens when you're a crappy franchise and you're a crappy football team. And it's not just this year. It's 4-13 last year. And it's not just last year, but it's 8-9 the year before and blown opportunities. Like, this thing has been trending in the wrong direction. I think what surprises me, though, is generally when players decide they're going to declare war on someone, it's not ownership, obviously. It's not the coaches generally. It's not teammates. They might do that privately, but not publicly. It's usually the media. Right? Like, just that's the easy target.
Yes.
And it did happen today. But for Tavai to go right after the fans 5 days after getting booed off the field, or 6 days, whatever it's been, since they got booed off the field against the Chargers, makes zero sense. If you do it in the aftermath, as Godchow and Wise did, I can understand a little bit more. It's a little raw, a little bit more emotion. But to do it now on a Friday, like, dude, just tell your mom, tell your girlfriend, your wife, your whatever, vent to them, but to put it out on the radio, like, you got to know better. He's been doing this long enough where I don't expect everybody to, like, nail their interviews, but, like, that's a basic one that you just can't go down that road, and he did.
So with all the questions that are floating around this team, does this matter? Because they've been an absolute embarrassment for the last 5 days. From Sunday through Friday, with their actions and their words, they've been an utter embarrassment. And supposedly big questions are being asked about the organization. Does it matter?
It should. It absolutely should. I mean, look, the actuality is the decision should have been made a while ago. This team wasn't getting better. It hasn't gotten better. Where have they gotten better? Like, you can't find me any real spots other than, when you went from Brissett to May. So what would give you confidence that next year, if you change coordinators or whatever, that Jerod's going to get it on the right path, even though you knew the roster stinks and you weren't going to be that good to begin with? It's worse than they thought it was going to be. Like, they thought they'd get the bounce or a little bump from Jerod. He's going to treat him like men. And, like, no, instead it's gone in the wrong direction. And you can't lose a home game in week 17 of your first year by 33 points to a team that, oh, by the way, changed their general manager and their head coach in the offseason. And they have more talent than you, but it's not like night and day talent. But you got absolutely destroyed, and that left a mark.
Yeah, it certainly did. And the fact that it was the Chargers, too, I think is part of that, because prior to this, the last couple of years, the Patriots did very well against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, even when they didn't win. Like, I think that was the 6-0 game last year. Like,
yeah.
they always managed to at least play a competitive game against the Chargers. And this, after L.A. loses a lot of their top-end talent on offense anyway, was as bad of a loss as they've had. With that being said, if you're the Crafts looking at this and sort of hearing all of this and knowing that this is in part because of decisions that you made, you say it was worse than they expected it to be. How much worse could it really, like, if they finish with 4 wins, that 4 wins is worse than they thought?
Yeah. I think they thought they were going to be at least one game above what Bill did last year. Just like I said, just from the sheer energy shift, and Jerod's going to treat these guys like men, and we're getting our football team back. And, instead, honestly, you go back, it's like the timeline is gross of all the missteps and bad performances. And when you think they turned the corner, they go take 2 steps back. It's like they've never been able to sustain any sort of momentum. And again, I understand it's a little unfair to Jerod because the roster is in horrible shape, but I don't know how you can sell to your fan base, who is irate right now, and they were irate before Jahlani Tavai called them out. Like, oh, no, we're going to run it back with him. Like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. You guys, you're just fans. You don't understand what we see inside the building.
What do you expect to happen with the way they approach the game on Sunday? Are we going to see Joe Milton in the first quarter, Joe Milton at all? Should we bench Jahlani Tavai to protect him from the booing, and that helps us lose? How do you think Sunday plays out?
I think there's a little bit of a push and pull inside the organization about how to approach this, because I think there are people.
Who's pushing and who's pulling? Who's pushing and who's pulling?
I think there are people in the building that want to lose. You want to have the number 1 pick. You want to have control of the board. You want to be able to get, probably not going to get the haul that Chicago got for the Bryce Young pick, because it's not the same kind of draft, but you're still going to get multiple pieces and probably multiple first rounders to trade back. So like there are people that definitely that's in the best interest of the franchise would be to lose. And then there are people whose jobs depend on it or think they depend on it. Say like, no, we like, how can you tell us to lose? Like that runs totally antithesis to everything that you're supposed to believe in as a coach, player, athlete, whatever. Like, no, we play to win. And so I think there is a little bit of that, like, like, I don't know, like it's the whole Drake May thing. Like Alex is telling you he's fine. Jerod told you he's spinning it fine. Like the hand's good, but yet he's still limited. Like, what are we doing?
What do you want to happen? Should they try to win or should they get the draft pick?
I think you need to play. And I know this is like, I think I'm the only guy on the island that's saying this, but I think this franchise is so low. You're legit the laughing stock in the league.
Yeah.
Like the Jets still exist. You're the laughing stock in the league. Yeah. I don't think. I know what you're going to say. You and I
six first-round picks. Like, you don't think six first-round picks could turn this around quickly?
You're not getting 6 first-round picks, and you don't know that the people that are going to be making the picks are going to get it right to begin with. So, just play. And look, here's my other beef for this week and the way they played it out. When Jerod talked to us on Wednesday, it was another misstep. Like, if you want to play Joe Milton, I'm not in favor of it, but okay, then just say, look, guys, Drake's going to start the game because he's a starting quarterback and he needs the reps. We need to get him work. He needs to prepare. This is the last time we get to do this for how many months? No, he's going to play. But we do want to see some of the young players. We've tried with the receivers. That hasn't worked. Joe's done a good job as a scout team guy. We'd like to run him out there. Maybe it's a quarter. Maybe it's a half. Maybe it's 3 quarters. But you can say it. I don't know why. What was the point in not saying it and then having him show up in the injury report 2 hours later? Like, just come on, man. Stop getting in your own way.
We're talking with Mike Giardi, Boston Sports Journal. Mike, with all of the changes that I think fans are openly asking for at this point, chanting it at games and other things of that nature, Elliott Wolf, Alex Van Pelt, Covington, and Mayo, all of those guys, the people who work for them, all of that, what would it take for the Crafts to finally say, you know what, we need to clean house here. It can't be any of our people anymore. Is there any possibility, do you think, of that happening?
Yeah, I do. I do think there's a possibility of it happening. I think for me right now, the only 2 things that I could see holding them back from making the changes on the coaching staff that we're talking about is A, the loyalty to Jerod. He picked him on the trip. This is going to be my guy. And it happened a year earlier than we thought. They thought Bill would still be the coach this year, but last year, tanked so badly that, okay, now we're going to do it. And he just wasn't ready for it. We'll give him another chance. We've got $120 million to spend in cap. We'll do that. We're going to have these high picks. We'll do that, and we'll give him an opportunity. And the other part of that would be they're cheap. And so do you want to not only blow out this coaching staff, that's going to cost, I don't know, call it $40 million.
Right, yeah.
Then you got to hire the new coaching staff. And if the Mike Vrabel thing, if that's what you believe is where they'd want to go, Mike Vrabel's probably going to command at least $15 million a year, and it might be 20 because he's going to have 3 or 4 teams that want to hire him. So including the Jets, who have shown they'll pay money. They may not know what they're going to do, but they'll spend the money. So do they want to then turn around and spend 40 to 50 million on a new staff? So it's, whatever, 70, 80, 90 million dollars just to clean up the mistake that you made last year when you wrote into his contract that he was going to be your future coach.
Okay, so all of this is on the table. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think by, they call it Black Monday. Do you think by our show Monday afternoon, we'll be talking about Mayo being here, not being here, changes, coaching staff? Will we know? Will there be a letter to the fans, an apology, a press release? Like, what's going to happen on Monday? Set the table.
So my feeling is that they are going to blow out the coaching staff, and I would say that they'll probably linger on it a little bit. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't come down till Wednesday because they'll show some respect to Jerod and let Jerod try to make his one last case or make it look like they gave him an opportunity to make his one last case. That's just kind of more of a gut than it is based on, Robert Kraft texting me and saying, we're going to do it. But that's just how I feel. I think that it swung so far in the other direction. And that last week's performance is just, Like, what are we doing? Why you can't? How? And the fans and the fire Mayo. It's just like there's going to be 30,000 people there if you're lucky on Sunday. Like, I don't think they have the appetite for it.
Does that prediction include Elliott Wolf?
Well, so here's where you could save some money. I mean, if you want to save yourself an extra $15 million, you run Elliott back and whoever's still under contract for the next year, right? And give him an opportunity. I know. I'm just.
You could argue he's done the worst job of any of them.
Certainly could.
Well, look, Andy,
Unless he's
the right
tanking.
thing to do. Right, the right thing to do is hit the nuke button and you blow the whole thing out. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to think about how they would think about money, because money has mattered, and it has mattered. You know, I think I've told you this story before. Robert was complaining about the 2021 spending spree in 2023.
Yes.
So, like, he didn't like to have to pay real money. He had to pay real money. And in theory, they have to do it again. If they don't, then I don't blame anybody for not showing up next year.
You use the word the pronoun they, and I don't want to get into a pronoun debate, but is
They,
it
them.
Is it a
Well,
they
we're going
them?
to.
Well, is it a they them decision? Is it Robert's decision? Because Robert's gut got us in this problem, right? His gut brought us Jerod Mayo. And I had heard all along that maybe not everybody was on the same page, maybe even family members, with the Jerod Mayo hire. And so who's making that decision now? Has Jonathan maybe gained a little yoke because, well, Dad, we went with your gut, and that is why we're in this position now? Like, who's making the decision?
I mean, I still think it's Robert's final decision, but I think Jonathan's been in his ear. So, yeah, if to me, if the decision gets made to nuke the coaching staff or nuke it all, then I think Jonathan will have played a major role in swaying his father in that direction.
All right, that is the voice of Mike Giardi, Boston Sports Journal. Thanks so much for joining us today, Mike. We look forward to talking with you again next week when whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, nice of you guys to come back to work. You know, the rest of us, we're grinding through a football season here. I know, you
I was here Monday.
Hosts,
I was here on Monday.
Whatever. You licked a stamp on that thing.
True.
Oh, speaking of work, where are you going right now?
To have a beer.
Must be nice.
Aggregate that,
Twice now.
bitches.
2:45 in the
Yeah, there
afternoon,
you
having
go.
a beer.
the
season
beat
has
is-
driven beat
Let's not throw
writers
stones
to
here.
drink.
Yes, yeah, I'll have one for you.